So let's try to keep it rapid fire. I think yesterday we were there, we discussed a lot of topics. One of them, which we sort of missed out, maybe by design, is the market really overcrowded? We were talking about innovations and how we can differentiate ourselves. But just a general feedback about what do you feel whether the market is really overcrowded? What do you mean by overcrowding, oversupplied, and how do we navigate that, right? So, Fadi, if I could ask you, how do you define overcrowding?
In my sector, I will only talk about paper supply. And if we talk about the overcrowded, there's two overcrowding. One is from the supply side and one maybe from the customer side. Customer side is never overcrowded. We always welcome new customers, so we have no problem with that. I will talk more about possibly the supply of paper and specifically office communication papers. So all things related to the office, copy paper, digital papers, etc. In our industry, we have seen that there's definitely overcrowding, and the market, because of the consumption, which is year on year, especially in Europe, is going down from 2 to 3%. We have seen mills reducing capacities and some mills even closing capacities. So all over Europe, all over US, in the last 10 years, there's more than maybe, I would say, 20 million tons that has actually been curtailed and coming out of the market. So yeah, it was overcrowded, but in the office communication papers today, we're more talking about the last man standing. So the mills who are producing copy paper and offset paper are actually, one after the other, are actually closing down, and the ones still existing are the ones surviving. So it is not overcrowded on supply side. On the customer side, it has witnessed the same. So also there's been filtering, and a lot of clients came out of the business, and the last people standing in this particular business of office communication are still there and doing okay.
Right. So, Mr. Ali, being a converter, you think having an oversupply is good?
So, Ritesh, to your question, so look, there's oversupply everywhere, in everything from pens to paper to cars. And the biggest problem is that people have run out of ideas. What do? Oh, he's making that, so that must be profitable, so I'm going to do that. So we cannot escape this because, like my colleague Mr. Fadi said, that in the paper industry, mills, whether it's a mill, whether it's a trader, people are just producing more and more, and they think by hitting capacity and reducing pricing, they're going to get people out of the market. This is not correct. People are not going to leave the market just because of pricing pressure. Sooner or later, people will just financially get into so much pressure they'll die. So oversupply is there everywhere, anywhere we look. So how do we deal with this? One of the best ways to deal with this is to diversify. But people have to think about these things. The problem is that as human beings, we follow what is known as herding theory. Just because somebody else is doing it, I can probably do it better because we all think we're better than the next guy or girl for that matter. So this is not necessarily true. You either find a niche in the market because there will always be oversupply. This has been going on. And since the Industrial Revolution, this is something that's just growing and growing and growing. And we can actually right size. I'm not going to say downsize. You find your sweet spot, whatever industry you're in, and you try and figure out how you can survive in that space. Because especially from the Far East, there is a lot of pressure due to oversupply. So I think diversification is the correct way to stabilize your own businesses, whatever they may be. But I do not believe that we can escape this oversupply story.
Understood. Thank you so much, Mr. Ali. So, Mr. Parvesh, quick question for you. Again, and this is getting back to the discussion we had yesterday. You are a connector in the business that you are in. How are you navigating, like Mr. Fadi said, you have oversupply, which is sort of rationalizing itself, but then you have more and more people getting in, getting more and more innovative down the line. And so you have to manage that as well. So how are you, navigating this?
This question is very interesting and important. Yes, the oversupply is there. The mills have been feeling the heat, so we'll see a trend in last about 10 years or so that certain mills have been trying to diversify towards packaging grades because the packaging is something which is catching up. But if you see another angle, there are opportunities or pockets of improvement. That is why we are lucky to have Etihad paper mill established in UAE, because there was an opportunity, somebody sensed it and took a right decision. So that gives an advantage. So it's a very clear example that in all situations, you must look at the opportunities also. There are angles, that you can look at, but these are opportunities as well. Coming to the market, because of various reasons, including population increase, new generation coming into business, they have new ideas. The supply chain or the manufacturers are maybe not doubled, in last years, but the buyers have doubled because the new generations have come into picture. Number of companies are more. Probably, like for example, ourselves, we earlier had few companies, now we have increased them. So yes, the competition increases. It is tough that sometimes we have a huge cutthroat competition in various markets. But again, there is a opportunity lying in Middle East and African region. In case you add this or come up with some innovations, creativities, which could be in anything. It could be in designing, packaging, marketing a similar product in a different way, because not everybody looks at the same thing. Okay, blue color is blue, but you may market it in a different way. It is possible to establish and find a gap and opportunity in all these stressful circumstances as well. That is how I believe the business keeps growing. We have good examples in our own market of major brands establishing themselves, certain brands losing the market because they couldn't keep up with the pace of market change and trends. So these are factors are important, but apart from overcrowding, there are opportunities which we need to look into.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Parvesh. So, Noble, quick question for you then. How do you see overcrowding as an opportunity?
Yeah, the problem is not just overcrowding. The thing is that the market is shrinking as well, and especially the stationery sector. When we work with the large corporates, we found out that the consumption is coming down quite a bit. The same thing what Mr. Fadi or Mr. Ali was discussing. Now, as long as you're selling a finished product, especially in UAE, you're going to see a lot of new players popping up like mushrooms, because people feel trading is a very easy thing. And then it goes into a price wars and stuff. What we've done is we've taken the route of customization. We've added multiple verticals under the same company. Today, in addition to office supplies, we also do IT services, corporate gifting, Apple products. What we do is once you identify the customers that you want to work with, we try to offer them multiple services. But I think this is the same thing that is happening across the market. There are printing companies which are offering stationery products. It becomes a competition for us. There are general trading companies which are trying to get into stationery and offer the same thing to corporate customers as well. So I think this is something that is very common in UAE market. So.
All right. Now, overcrowding creates opportunities to buy, and we need to find niches to sell it to the right segment. Now, there's a dark side towards overcrowding, wherein you have multiple suppliers going into the same customer account, or multiple channels going into the same account, if you were to call it at that. So, are there any financial risks associated with this, Mr. Fadi? Is it becoming more and more risky financially? Because overcrowding leads to you have multiple options, and then if you've got credit involved in all of this, are you financing the overcrowding behavior?
I think, as you mentioned before, I mean, the market cleans itself. So when there's overcrowding, there's a decision you have to take. Either I have to play the game of being there just for the sake of being present, and this is where you tend to take wrong decisions. So you might give credit to the market. You want to, try to attract your customer. And I think, in my opinion, the market will clear itself. The people who would play the game of having several suppliers because it's overcrowded in supply side will eventually one or two or three people will get hit and they will withdraw. And that's what we're seeing. Customary, we're seeing this, that whenever there's overcrowded, we try to approach it on a very structured way, whereas the client will appreciate the approach, and he goes to others and he feels that there's a problem from that entity, and eventually it cleans up. So we are now in the process of cleaning. I think I don't see much overcrowding. Again, I talk about from my own sector, which is paper supply.
Right.
It is not as overcrowded as it used to be. The mills are now, compared to, if I say 10 years ago, compared to today, we had at least tenfolds in terms of suppliers available to come to the market.
To the market.
Yeah.
Over here.
And of course, Etihad is one of the mills that came surprisingly where everybody was closing. Etihad came in, but the location of Etihad paper mill in the UAE serving the Gulf markets is a big advantage.
Is the thing.
Yeah.
Correct. So, Mr. Parvesh, now we're looking at oversupplies from different geographies, right? So you can get materials in from China, you can get materials from India, you can get it from Indonesia, you can get it from Portugal, you can get it from the US, you can get it from Brazil. Do you think global supplies affect different markets differently in terms of supply lines, or is it more in line with this is what the market price is and that's what we're going to do? Because you can book an order today, but it takes at least anywhere between 15 days to a couple of months or 3 months to get to the point where that pricing is realized. So do you think this can be a differentiator in navigating the oversupplied or the overcrowding scenario right now?
Yes, see what happens. We have suppliers all across the globe, and there are a lot of agreements between the governments and regions where you have duty advantages. Plus, important part is lead time, shipment times. We have seen this in our experience, which is practical experience, that at times people buy goods from probably, when you talk about North or West Africa, they prefer to buy from Brazil or Europe because the lead time is less, although the price might be higher. But they would divert some of their orders to China, probably Indonesia, India. The lead time is more, but the price is competitive. So everyone has to arrive on a product mix, because if you are a manufacturer, converter, printer, doing packaging, so you cannot close your factory, you cannot avoid servicing your clients. So these geographical locations, lead time, supply chain management, apart from price, are very important. And during and after COVID, actually, this shipping cost of shipment, logistics, supply chain is affecting a lot. Even if we talk about maybe FOB price same all across the globe, if I'm a factory, I would look at the freight rate and the lead time. If the lead time is less, my cost is high, I might still buy 20-30% of my requirement because I need to run the show. So these factors are important. Sometimes if we have sufficient stock, like we have a wonderful example of Capital Envelopes, they work with a very planned way of stocking probably for a longer period. So if you have a good planning, logistic planning, production planning, then you will always have an advantage over others from your competition. So yes, it's an important factor, what you just mentioned.
Right. Mr. Ali, previously you had touched about topic about diversifying businesses in order to survive in overcrowding, to find a specific niche. There is a growing trend about being vertically integrated, whether it's down the stream or up the stream, in sense that you may have, paper manufacturers setting up converting facilities, which is closer to the markets that they find conducive to do business in, just to reduce the cycle time or to beat out the overcrowding. How are you reading this in terms of, is it a viable option to do that? Because vertical integration versus people who are independent converters, such as yourself.
So if IPM is giving me an offer for my business, we can talk after, right? And since my fellow colleagues have spoken so highly of IPM, I don't want to miss out on this opportunity as well. So having your supplier down the road makes a huge difference. All the points that Mr. Pravesh raised are so valid with regards to freight, So this is very important from a supply chain perspective, that you have suppliers close to you geographically. This is something the pandemic has taught us. With regards to vertical integration, whether downwards or upwards, see, this is to do with what you wish to do strategically, because one of the risks of going downward integration or upward, you will start taking business from your customers, which can become a problem. So, if my paper supplier goes and buys another envelope manufacturer, I might stop buying paper from that supplier. So they have to be careful how they're going to vertically integrate, whether it's downwards or upwards. And the other main thing is to do with capital, because you need significant capital if you're going to be vertically integrating either ways. But the correct way, in my opinion, is to diversify into related industries. So if I'm in the paper industry, it doesn't make sense for me to go and start manufacturing plastic products. I need to find products which eventually will become commoditized, but right now I will have a window of opportunity where I can go in and start making something which is related to envelopes or slightly different, which creates some level of value addition, possibly customization, like Mr. Nobel said. All these things add value, and you will have that opportunity. And if you do it first, you will always be ahead of the game. So that's what I would like to.
Right. So Noble, back to you. You're talking about customization at one side of things, and you're looking at branding on the other side of things, where you want to carry a global brand or something which has been in the market for a long time. I think it's a little bit conflicting, where you're talking about brands and then you're looking at customization. Could you throw some light on this as to what your thought behind this would be?
When we talk about branding, we're talking about corporate gifting. In terms of stationery brands, we've always seen that UAE tends to go towards well-established brands globally. The OEM brands haven't yet been able to capture the market share of the well-established brands. Even at the trade fair today, we see a lot of suppliers offering a lot of OEM brands, but the main brands still tend to continue. And when it comes to customization, it is purely about corporate gifting and stuff.
Okay, so now we had some discussions last year.
Yeah.
On e-commerce.
Yeah.
Your views on customization and commoditization and hyper competition with regards to e-commerce is still the same?
E-commerce only for stationery and office supplies will never work in UAE. As long as you're someone who's offering a mixed bag of products, from FMCG products to stationery to electronics, then probably you have a chance. Many companies have come and tried to build an e-commerce platform offering only stationery solutions, and most of them have actually gone out of the market today. What we do is we try to work with some of the well-established brands which are offering a basket of products such as Noon, Amazon or TradeLink, and we try to associate with them, and we try to offer them certain special deals during promotional periods to get our products across to the customers.
All right. So while we are at the topic of e-commerce, I know Mr. Haider also, thinks very highly of e-commerce, and as does Mr. Fadi and Mr. Parvesh. So, Mr. Arij, the question to you would be, in an increasing world of, hyper competition, overcrowding, mass customization that we touched on yesterday, how do you think e-commerce would enable us to bring control on this?
So e-commerce is a growing industry. It's like the transportation business, which is also growing. So e-commerce is just going to keep growing and growing and growing, because people want product delivered to their homes. So if anyone can find any piece of business in that entire value chain, whether it's from the packaging, whether it's from the transportation side, the logistics, the fulfillment, there is going to be good marketplace for the time being, because a lot of people are still searching for the right answer when it comes to e-commerce packaging, because you have such a wide array of products to package and to ship out that there is no single solution for all these things. Whether it's paper packaging, plastic packaging, Some people are talking about sustainability. We're not going to use plastic. Some people are saying paper is too expensive. So there is so much volatility in this space right now, and there's a lot of opportunity. So if anyone can find some opportunity in there, the chances of there being growth and considerable growth, and at least I think for the foreseeable future, there will be enough space. And just like evolution, eventually there will be overcrowding again.
All right, sure. So, Fadi, getting onto e-commerce, right? You've dealt in, or you're dealing in multiple geographies, at various levels of integration between between a supplier and, a purchaser, where systems get integrated and, everything is done online in the sense that, there are automatic stocking programs that are in place in the developed world. What, according to you, is, and that becomes a unique selling point, or it gives anchors to existing brands and helps cut down on overcrowding over a certain period of time? Why do you think it's not that, or it's not replicated here in this part of the world?
Well, I mean, again, talking from our group, it is something that we have to add as a additional value to the client. E-commerce is here, you cannot avoid it. Our modus operandi is more on a B2B basis. So what we have done, for instance, and we are developing now, is a platform for client to be able to go on this platform and have a seamless experience of finding his product, finding the prices, ordering online, following his order shipment, checking his order online. So that is what we have experienced in e-commerce. And talking to several clients, they see an added value in that. Of course, you distinguish yourself by not being a part of the overcrowding. So once we've done that, that's giving us an added value, and the client appreciates it because you have, the order could be a 24-hour, and as I said, it's a B2B, it's not a B2C. So that's something that clients appreciate a lot.
Correct. So you think this trend is picking up here in the region, or you're pioneering this as an effort from...
It is not as developed as it is in Europe and the US and in the rest of the world. But for sure, each one of us has an iPhone or an Android and if that is starting to be, you're able to place your orders and check your shipments on your phone, that's a total added value. So I think this is picking up and it will eventually come into the region. We know AI is also a huge issue. We know the Abu Dhabi government has invested millions with Microsoft in terms of bringing AI to the region. So I think things will eventually want to change and affect also our paper deliveries and
mode of doing business.
Absolutely.
Mr. Parvesh, this is going to be a very, it's a curveball, right? It's going to be something that's swinging in the air, and then, one of the roles that a market connector plays is passing information on from one end of the world to the other end of the world. Now, in an overcrowded sense, how do you decide which information to pass on and which one is the opportunity for you to embank upon?
The information to pass on is very important because without that, the other person will not be able to work on his business. So before you pass on information, we must have a trust between us and the client that whatever I'm telling him, he puts his trust on me, and that comes with years of presence, experience, knowledge, that you put in a word to him and he does. On a very simple, plain word example, I don't remember for last or more than 15, 18 years, I do not carry any samples with me when I travel. We discuss and we propose to the client and we tell him, go ahead with this one, this product, this mill. He does that. So that is an information that you pass on. Then comes the pricing. So same thing. He has to believe and trust in you that you are doing your best for him. Of course, we in the bargain, we also make money. When Etihad sells paper from pulp, they make money. We buy from them, we convert it, we make money. We have a large manufacturer, global leader, who definitely converts and well makes money. But it is value, it's a trust-based thing, if Etihad puts a trust on me, I put on them. So the information flow is important, When you have that trust level, it comes with years of presence and experience. And I think it is very important for you to click a business.
Thank you, sir. So, Noble, now we were talking about, one end of the spectrum where you need to talk to people to build trust. But in today's procurement environment, especially around corporates being behind, an electronic wall where you submit RFQs, how difficult is it for you or, to go ahead and convince guys when you don't know who to talk to? As what Mr. Parvesh said. So, as a starting point, you need to be able to talk to somebody to tell him, hey, this is what it is and this is what you're supposed to buy. So how are you doing that, or is it something which is a challenge for you?
I think with the rise of technology, the human interaction has been limited to a good extent, and we take it to our advantage. Earlier, you could meet someone in procurement, personally meet them, offer them a special pricing or any kind of special support and do that. The advantage that we've seen is when we came into the market, maybe into corporate stationery business, maybe around 5 years back, the government was completely shifting their procurement practices and going digital with it. When they went digital was where we found our opportunity. Today, what we do is we control around 250 to 300 government departments in UAE. We have a contract with most of them on a 2-year or a 3-year basis. And what we do is it comes into a pricing game. As long as we have the best pricing, the order will be awarded to you. Our concentration lies on ensuring that we're able to renew these contracts with the customers. And any brand in the market today, if you want those brands to be used by some of the top tier companies in UAE, from ministries to ADNOC or hospitals under SEHA, the only option is to actually route it through pencil. That's how even going forward also, I believe that the less human interaction, the better it is for us,
Okay, so I'd like to have some perspective. We've got two ends of the spectrum here. One which is more old school in terms of building up trust, and one where Noble is at the polar opposite of saying, hey, technology is actually going to enable us to do it further. So I'd like to have thoughts from first Mr. Fadi and then from Mr. Ali on this one as to what are your thoughts on, I don't know, is it really old school in terms of where we are right now and the industry is old school, or is it new age in terms of how?
I mean, we are talking about a very traditional old business, which is not old, but it's a commodity. So how you digitize a commodity business, or how you commoditize a digital?
Digital, like in the
I mean, for us, it has been traditional for the past 25 years.
Right.
Paper is paper. However, you're going to, which channel you're going to use to come to the end client. Unfortunately or fortunately for us in the Middle East, personal, touch is still required. There's a big difference between an e-commerce or electronic or talking to a computer versus sitting with a client, and that's why we come to exhibitions. So who's going to win? I think both is a mixture of both, and that's what we do. You need platforms, you need social media you have to have a social footprint, otherwise you're not out there anymore. But at the same time, you need the face-to-face, you need to have your team, you have somebody on the phone to answer. That is still a must in our areas, in the region of Middle East, North of Africa.
All right, sure. Thank you. So, Mr. Ali, some closing comments from your side.
So I totally agree with Fadi, what he's saying about it's going to be a hybrid between the tech and the human element. It's not going to be one or the other, especially like he said in our traditional business. But it's very important to understand that the concept, the supplier and customer relationship is very sacred. You need service, you need reliability, you need quality, and then you need price. It has to be a blend of everything. It can't just be one or the other. Yes, price is very important, but if you remove everything else from the equation, yes, that'll be short term, it will not last. And the reliability, quality, that has to come from the touch and feel, right? The relationship building has to come from human interaction. Yes, the electronic media is going to help and facilitate a lot of this. It will probably cut through a lot of red tape. It'll make your communication faster. But I think we need an overall combination. Just like he said, look, we're all here at the exhibition, right? You guys are sitting at us four talking about God knows what, and you guys are probably wondering what the hell these guys are going on about. But you're here, right? Because maybe you like seeing the four of us. I don't know. Right?
Seen a lot more of us this year.
Anyway,
I'm sorry, Noble, you had something to say when I had asked the question.
When it comes to what Mr. Fadi or Mr. Ali is saying, that they basically sell products to customers like us. And that's where the human interaction is very important. But the step above us, which is basically working with, we're not talking about SME companies or something. We're primarily talking about government departments, companies like ADNOC and stuff. They've actually implemented the most advanced technology is what is being used by them, So when we sell it forward, the human touch is no more there, I mean, it's
Adding
a very different thing. It's a very different thing, At the same time, if you look at earlier, you had normal graduates working as procurement professionals in most of the government departments. Today, the only way you can land up a job in a government department as a procurement professional is if you have a CIPS degree, CIPS, And most of the procurement today in UAE, the kind of customers that we cater to, is handled by ladies today. Probably 10% men, 90% of the procurement professionals in the government department today are ladies. And they are CIPS professionals. They are very familiar with the Oracle or the SAP Ariba or the Tejari platforms. They all go through an RFQ process, which is a mandate by the government side. So from our only human interaction happens when we buy the products. Like if I have to take something from IPM or from Fadi or from, any of you, I have to get in touch with you. That is why you guys are still able to maintain that human interaction. But when you go into the government sector, the entire procurement practice is very different.
So, as a paper manufacturer, I can vet that. Paper selling up the value chain where we are talking about manufacturing, and if you look at pulp, it's even more traditional and old school. So it starts getting modernized as you start going down the value chain. So when we, that's how our industry is dealing with overcrowding, and therefore personal relationships matter more than what the actual value of the contract is that is being discussed right now. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been about 4 minutes overboard. Thank you for your patience. If there's any time for questions.